Alright, in this video we're going to talk about more about the rational functions and specifically the how to find the x and the y intercepts. Okay. Alright, so you've probably seen this function before if you've watched some of the other videos, but the first thing we're going to do to start finding all these features, first thing you're probably going to do is go ahead and factor that into our two binomials, so that if I were to multiply the numerator out, I get x squared minus 1, and same thing for the denominator, I'll get this bottom polynomial. All right, so we've talked about how to find the holes or discontinuities. We've talked about how to find the vertical asymptote, and now we're going to talk about how do we find the x and y intercept. So what I know about the y-intercept is that I am on the y-axis, which means I didn't go right or left, which means I have an x value of 0. What we don't know is we don't know what the y term is. That's what we're trying to determine. So I'm going to utilize my factored version of the function. I'm just going to plug in zeros everywhere. So I have 0 plus 1, I have 0 plus 3, and if you'll notice, I'm going to leave off the last term right here because that's just going to be a 1 anyway when I plug 0 in there. So it's going to be turn out to be irrelevant in the grand scheme of finding the y-intercept. So I'm going to try to shorten my problem just a little bit by leaving that term out. And so what you'll notice is you get 0 plus 1 is 1, and 0 plus 3 is 3, thus giving me a y-intercept of 1/3. Okay? Now then, I'm going to do something similar for the x-intercept. Now if I'm on the x-axis, I know I did not move up or down, which gives me a y value of 0. And then I know I have an x value here. Don't know what that x value is yet, and that's what I'm trying to determine. Then what we know is that this top term right here has to be equal to 0, because anything divided by 0 is just 0. Now, what I've determined with these two terms right here, that's the same on the numerator as in the denominator, so that's going to give me my whole or discontinuity. So the only term that's important to us is going to be this one right here, because if I can make that term equal to 0, then the whole numerator will be 0. Then it doesn't matter what's on the bottom here, I'm going to get a y value of 0. So what I'm going to do is take that top term, set it equal to 0, and that's x plus 1 equals 0. Subtract 1 from each side to get -1. So I know I have an x-intercept of -1. All right, so now we're going to go down here. We're going to pause the video. You're going to try it on your own, and then we'll come back and check it. All right, so again, the first thing we're going to do is factor the top and bottom. So I have x minus 3, x plus 2 is the top. Across the bottom, I got x plus 2, and I got x minus 2. All right, so now that I have that, I'm going to go find the y-intercept, which means I don't know what the y value is, but I know the x value is 0. So I'm going to plug that into everywhere where necessary. Now don't forget, these two terms right here are the same on top and bottom. So that's going to give me my whole or discontinuity. So really the only two terms we need to consider here is x minus 3 and x minus 2. I plug in a 0 to both of those. I got minus 3, 0 minus 2. That's going to give me -3 over -2, which ends up being a positive. So I have a y-intercept of 3 over 2. Okay. Now then, we're going to do the same thing for the x-intercept, and we know that we don't know what the x value is, but I do know I have a y value of 0 at that point. And again, we have this whole or discontinuity with the x plus 2 and the x plus 2. So the only term that can make my numerator 0 would be the x minus 3. So I'm going to set that equal to 0. Solve by adding, and then I got x equals 3. So what I know is I have an x-intercept of 3. Hope this video helps. I'll see you in the next one.